Chosen one, what if I told you that right now? Yes, this very moment you are standing at the threshold of a divine shift that could forever alter the course of your life. What if I told you that the very fact you're watching this video is not a coincidence but a divine appointment arranged by the God of heaven himself? Stay with me. Don't scroll away. Because what you're about to hear is not just another motivational message, not just a feel-good whisper in the noise of the internet. It is a spiritual revelation, a heavenly download, destined for someone specific. And that someone is you. You see, in a world drowning in anxiety, uncertainty, and constant striving for more, God is speaking. He is calling out to his chosen ones. And if your spirit is resonating with this message already, it's because your name has been whispered in heavenly places. You are not watching this because you're curious. You're here because God has orchestrated this moment. He's been preparing you, quietly, secretly, painfully, but purposefully. This is not for the crowd. This is for the remnant, the ones who have walked through fire and kept their faith, the ones who have cried in silence, wondering if God had forgotten them, the ones who have felt the crushing weight of financial pressure, emotional fatigue, spiritual warfare, yet refuse to give up. God sees you. Heaven knows your name. From this moment forward, it is no longer your duty to struggle. Did you hear that? It is no longer your duty to struggle. There comes a sacred moment in every believer's life when the striving ends and the surrender begins. That moment is now. The struggle that once weighed heavily on your shoulders is being lifted, not by chance, not by mere circumstance, but by divine design. Why? Because God is taking over. Let that sink in. God, the creator of heaven and earth, the one who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the God who multiplied loaves and fishes, the God who parts seas and opens wombs, he is now making your provision, his personal responsibility, your financial trials, his concern, your future security, his assignment, your breakthrough, already in motion. Beloved, your season of striving has come to an end. The time of divine supply has begun. You are moving from a place of pressure into a position of promise. What used to feel like pushing a boulder uphill is about to feel like soaring on wings of eagles. This is not about prosperity in the worldly sense. It's not about chasing money, luxury, or greed. It's about entering into the fullness of God's covenant, where his provision flows not just to you, but through you, where you are blessed to be a blessing, where you stop surviving and start thriving, not by might nor by power, but by his Spirit. Zechariah 4:6. God is reintroducing himself to his chosen ones, not just as Savior, but as provider, Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who provides. He's breaking off the mindset of scarcity that's plagued you for years. He's silencing every lie that told you abundance wasn't for people like you. He's removing the shame of past failures, debts, and missed opportunities. And he's replacing it with divine assurance, I will take care of you. From now on, it is no longer your duty to figure everything out. It is no longer your burden to carry the weight of provision on your back. Because God is stepping in and saying, this is my responsibility now. Can you trust him with that? That's the real test. Not your ability to hustle, not your ability to control, but your willingness to surrender and believe that he who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Philippians 1:6. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I've struggled for so long. I don't know how to stop worrying. I can't see a way out. Friend, this is exactly why you've been led here. Not to hear a formula, but to encounter a shift, a transformation that begins not in your wallet, but in your mind. God is renewing your mindset right now. He's planting the seeds of faith that say, if God said he would do it, then he will. He's breathing fresh confidence into your spirit, not based on what you have, but on who he is. The same God who rained manna from heaven, the same God who fed Elijah with ravens, the same God who filled the widow's jars with oil. That God is your God. He hasn't changed. His promises haven't expired. His provision hasn't dried up. In fact, he's been waiting for you to stop striving and start trusting. You've cried long enough, you've toiled long enough, you've feared long enough. This is your new beginning. From today forward, wealth is God's duty. Provision is God's promise. Breakthrough is God's business. What's your job? To trust, to obey, to believe. As you walk forward in faith, not everything will make sense immediately. There will still be moments that challenge your peace, test your trust, and tempt your doubt. But remember, you are not walking alone. You are walking with the assurance of a God who cannot lie, who never fails, and who is committed to supplying all your needs according to his riches in glory. Philippians 4:19. You are chosen. You are covered. You are called into divine abundance. Let this message be a seed of transformation. And before we go further, I want you to do 3 things because faith always has action, like this video. Not just to support us, but to declare your agreement with this message. Subscribe to this channel and join a community of believers stepping into divine provision. Comment 99 below, a prophetic act to signify completion, fullness, and divine alignment. Let heaven and earth know, I'm stepping into my inheritance. This is your divine moment. Stay with me, because what's coming next will build your faith like never before. We're going deeper into the meaning, the battle, the breakthrough, and the supernatural provision that belongs to you as a chosen child of God. Are you ready? There comes a moment, sacred, undeniable, and life-altering, when the weight you've been carrying no longer belongs to you. It's the moment when divine intervention breaks into your earthly struggle and rewrites the narrative of your life. For the chosen ones, that moment is not a vague hope somewhere in the future. It's now, right now. You see, when God calls you chosen, He's not labeling you to boost your ego. He's defining your destiny. He's marking you for a life that's not built on hustle, anxiety, or sleepless nights, but on His promise of supernatural provision. From this point forward, the responsibility of your wealth, your prosperity, your breakthrough, it's not yours to bear anymore. It's God's. Let that truth settle deep within your spirit. It is now God's duty to provide for you. The very Creator who shaped the galaxies, who breathed stars into being, who crafted you in your mother's womb, He has taken full responsibility for your future. And no, this is not just poetic language or a feel-good slogan. It's a spiritual truth, a holy transaction that's taking place in the unseen realm right now. You've crossed a line. You've stepped into a new covenant. The weight is being lifted. The pressure is dissolving. And a divine flow is being activated over your life, one that no enemy, no doubt, and no past mistake can cancel. You've been praying, fasting, weeping in secret. You've asked God for abundance, not to show off, but because you want to live out your purpose. You want to give, to build, to serve, to create. And guess what? Heaven heard you. And heaven is responding with power. There's a shift happening in your finances, yes, but even more so in your identity. You are not merely a survivor anymore. You're a carrier of heaven's provision. You're not just someone hoping things will get better. You are the living proof that God takes care of His own. The days of living paycheck to paycheck, scraping by, and wondering if God forgot you, those days are over. From now on, your prosperity doesn't come from sweat alone. It comes from covenant. That's right. Your abundance is rooted in God's faithfulness, not your effort. And while the world might measure wealth by hustle and grind, heaven's economy operates on obedience and trust. Picture a river, an endless, flowing, unstoppable river. It keeps giving, keeps supplying, keeps replenishing. That is what God's provision looks like for you now. It's not a puddle that dries up, it's a source that never runs out. And the best part? You don't have to fight for it. You only have to receive it. You were not chosen to be poor, anxious, or barely surviving. You were chosen to reflect the richness of your Father's house. You were chosen to carry evidence of divine favor in your life. And no, this doesn't mean you'll never have challenges, but it means the outcome is already guaranteed: provision, protection, and prosperity. And this isn't just about financial wealth. It's bigger than that. When you walk in divine abundance, every area of your life gets touched. Your relationships start healing, your health aligns, your purpose becomes clear. God's version of wealth is holistic. It's soul deep. It brings peace that doesn't make sense and joy that circumstances can't take away. Hear me. God's commitment to bless you is not based on your resume or your reputation. It's based on His righteousness. And when He says you're blessed, there is nothing hell can do about it. From today forward, you are no longer a worrier. You are a worshiper, no longer a chaser of opportunity. You are a magnet for divine provision. Your job is not to make everything happen. Your job is to stay in alignment with His will, His word, and His timing. Yes, there will still be voices, some external, some internal, trying to convince you this isn't real, that it's too good to be true. But chosen ones know that truth often sounds like madness to the masses. The world may not understand it, but your spirit does. Something inside you knows that this isn't hype, it's holy. It's heaven sent. And if you're feeling that stirring right now, if something inside you is awakening, it's because your spirit recognizes this moment. You're not being inspired. You're being ignited. No more panic about bills. No more dread about tomorrow. No more sleepless nights wondering if God is listening. He's not just listening. He's moving. He's acting. He's releasing. And soon, what was once invisible will become undeniable. Your life will begin to bear the visible fruit of invisible faith. God is about to make it obvious. Imagine waking up every morning knowing your needs are already met, not because you worked harder than everyone else, but because heaven is working on your behalf. Imagine stepping into boardrooms, job interviews, ministry work, creative projects, whatever it is you're called to, knowing that you are backed by the full authority of the kingdom of God. That is your new normal. You're no longer operating in fear. You're moving in faith. You're no longer navigating uncertainty alone. You're being carried by divine certainty. This is supernatural provision, and it's flowing into your life right now. So exhale, release the stress. Let go of the self-reliance. God never asked you to carry what only He can. This moment is your invitation to trust at a deeper level than ever before, to walk boldly into what has already been prepared for you. This is your season, your time, your turn. And what's coming for you is not random, it's righteous. It's been promised. It's been prepared. And now it's being released. So don't just hear this message, live it. Let it breathe life into your soul. Let it shift the way you speak, think, and move. Let it become the lens through which you view every situation. Because when heaven takes over, everything changes. And for the chosen ones, wealth is no longer a wish. It's a divine responsibility that God has taken upon Himself. Welcome to your new reality. When you begin to understand that your provision is no longer your burden, something miraculous happens deep within your soul. Peace enters. But not the fragile, fleeting peace that the world gives. This is a peace that transcends all understanding. It quiets the voices of worry. It silences the storms of anxiety. It allows you to breathe again deeply and freely because your future is no longer a mystery. It's a promise, and that promise is held in the unshakable hands of God. The moment you said yes to your divine calling, something shifted. Maybe you didn't notice it immediately. Maybe things didn't change on the outside right away. But in the spiritual realm, something monumental occurred. You crossed over. You transitioned from struggle to supernatural provision. And while the world still screams, work harder, grind longer, worry more, God whispers, rest in me, trust in my provision, watch me work. This doesn't mean you stop being responsible or wise. It means the fear is gone, the panic is gone, the exhausting pressure to figure everything out is gone. Because now, you are living under a divine covenant, a sacred agreement between you and your Creator. And in this covenant, your role is trust. His role is provision. Think about that for a moment. God, the all-knowing, all-powerful, ever-present God, has taken on the duty of providing for your every need. Not just sometimes, not just when you're good enough, but always. That's the beauty of His faithfulness. It's not performance-based. It's promise-based. He's not asking you to hustle for His blessing. He's asking you to believe for it. He's not demanding that you exhaust yourself to earn His favor. He's simply asking you to align your heart with His will, and when you do, the doors that once seemed locked will swing open. The resources that once felt scarce will overflow. The path that once felt confusing will be made straight. This is the divine reality for the chosen ones, those who live not by sight but by faith. It's a reality that says, I don't have to understand how, I just have to trust who. Because when you know the provider, you stop obsessing over the provision. When you trust the shepherd, you stop fearing the wilderness. God's abundance is not about luxury, it's about liberty. It's the freedom to sleep in peace at night, knowing your needs are already met. It's the confidence to step into opportunities that scare you, knowing you're not alone. It's the assurance that even if you face delays or detours, you're still on divine schedule. God's plan is not fragile, it is firm, and so is His promise to take care of you. Remember, this isn't about material wealth alone. It's about fullness, wholeness, a richness that touches every corner of your life, your health, your relationships, your calling. Prosperity in God's eyes isn't limited to dollars and possessions. It's about living in the overflow of peace, purpose, and provision. There's something incredibly powerful about a believer who walks with the confidence of divine provision. They don't live in fear. They don't operate in desperation. They move differently, speak differently, believe differently, because they know, deep down, they are covered, they are cared for, they are chosen. And this confidence is not arrogance. It's trust. It's the kind of trust you see in a child who knows their parent will provide. That child doesn't wake up wondering if there will be food or if the lights will stay on. They simply live, play, dream, and explore because they know someone, bigger, stronger, and wiser, is taking care of the details. That's the level of trust God is inviting you into. A trust that allows you to dream again, to build again, to hope again, because you're not doing it alone. The same God who clothed the lilies and fed the sparrows is now clothing you with favor and feeding your destiny. You don't have to figure everything out. You don't have to carry it all. You just have to show up, say yes, and walk forward. Even when the path is foggy, even when the next step isn't clear, God is already there, waiting with provision in hand. And yes, there will still be moments when fear tries to creep in, when the bills pile up, when opportunities seem scarce, when people doubt you. But in those moments, remind yourself, my provision is not my job, it's God's. My role is to trust, obey, and keep moving forward. His role is to provide, protect, and promote in His perfect timing. The more you release the pressure to control your future, the more you make room for miracles. The more you stop striving and start surrendering, the more you activate the supernatural. Because faith isn't just believing that God can. It's trusting that God will, and that He's already in motion. There is a freedom waiting for you that only comes when you let go of fear and lean fully into faith. And that faith will carry you further than any strategy, connection, or plan ever could. Why? Because when heaven funds your journey, you never run out. So breathe. Exhale the fear. Inhale the promise. You are chosen, you are covered, and your future is not just secure, it's overflowing. What once felt like a never-ending uphill climb, a battle just to survive, just to keep your head above water, is now becoming something entirely different. That relentless struggle, that feeling of being overwhelmed, of always needing to push harder, try more, prove yourself, it's falling away. And in its place, something holy, something supernatural. You are now stepping into a season where your life is no longer driven by exhaustion, but lifted by grace. Chosen one, you've been through enough. You've lived long enough with the tension of striving. You've poured out, given, tried, pushed, and yet you've wondered why breakthrough seemed so far away. But what you didn't see is that heaven was never ignoring you. It was preparing the timing. Because now, in this appointed moment, the season of weariness ends, and the season of abundance begins. And not just abundance in the financial sense, but abundance in peace and joy and divine clarity and in purpose. When you walk in divine abundance, you're not just blessed in one area. Every part of your life begins to respond. Your relationships align. Your body heals. Your thoughts clear. Your purpose sharpens. Because the overflow of God's presence isn't selective. It's all-encompassing. It doesn't just touch your bank account. It touches your identity. This kind of abundance isn't about stacking up possessions. It's about living in the fullness that God intended for you. It's about knowing that you're no longer living according to the world's limitations, but according to heaven's provision. You're no longer the person dragging through life, hoping for just enough to get by. Now you're becoming the person who lives from overflow, who has more than enough, not just to survive, but to serve, to give, to lift others. God's vision of wealth is not narrow. It's not selfish. It's not shallow. It's sacred. It's a form of worship. It's a testament to His faithfulness. And when you finally embrace this, when your soul surrenders to the truth that you were never created to live in lack, everything begins to change. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You stop shrinking to fit the expectations of those who don't understand your calling. You stop living with guilt every time you envision a future bigger than your past. This isn't about greed. It's about divine purpose. And that purpose comes with provision. God doesn't send you into battle without armor, and He won't send you into destiny without resources. His call is always paired with His supply. Let that sink in. You were chosen not because you were the strongest, the smartest, or the most qualified, but because God saw your heart. He knew you would carry the blessing with integrity. He knew you wouldn't hoard the wealth, but you'd use it to impact lives, to advance the kingdom, to change your family's future, and to rewrite the legacy you leave behind. The struggle is no longer your portion. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to walk in the worth God already declared over you. And what's waiting for you now isn't another fight, but a flood. A divine flood of provision, favor, opportunities, open doors, divine alignments. The heaviness you've carried is being exchanged for a supernatural lightness. That pressure, to fix it all, earn it all, make it all happen, that was never your calling. Your calling is to believe, to obey, to receive. From this place of faith, you'll begin to feel a shift in your spirit. You'll wake up different. You'll move through your day differently. You'll notice that where you used to force things, now they're flowing. Where you used to panic, now there's peace. Where you used to feel resistance, now there's release. Because heaven has gone ahead of you, and the blessing is already in motion. And don't think for a moment that this blessing is random. It's not luck. It's not coincidence. It's covenant. It's the direct result of alignment with your Creator. And it's His pleasure to bless His children. Not so you can boast in yourself, but so the world can see what happens when someone truly walks with God. And hear this clearly. Divine abundance doesn't mean a life without challenges. It means challenges without fear. It means storms without being shaken. It means doors may close, but better ones will open. Because the chosen, one doesn't walk alone, they walk with the full backing of heaven. So what does it look like to step into this kind of life? It looks like resting in His goodness when logic says panic. It looks like praising even when the evidence hasn't arrived yet. It looks like declaring abundance when your bank account hasn't caught up to the promise. It looks like living from vision, not just from circumstance. The abundance that's coming isn't temporary. It's not here today, gone tomorrow. It's rooted in eternity. It's secured by the same hands that shaped the universe. You're not chasing blessings. They're now chasing you. You're not begging God to notice you. He's already moving on your behalf. So take a moment to breathe in this truth. You are chosen for a life of overflow. You're being carried into places your feet couldn't reach alone. And this time, it won't be by force. It will be by favor. There's a quiet strength that comes over a person when they realize they're no longer responsible for figuring everything out on their own. That strength isn't loud or boastful. It's rooted, calm, and immovable. It's the strength that comes from knowing you're backed by someone greater than you, and that someone is the God who never fails. This is the divine confidence God is inviting you to walk in. a boldness not built on self-reliance but anchored in his unfailing provision. You see, when you embrace the truth that God is the one supplying your every need, something profound happens. Fear begins to lose its grip. Anxiety about the future starts to dissolve. Uncertainty, which once used to paralyze you, now becomes a space of peace because you know who is guiding your steps. That kind of trust can't be manufactured. It's cultivated in surrender. It grows through revelation. Think about the confidence of a child who knows that their parent will take care of them. That child doesn't lie awake at night worried about rent, groceries, or what tomorrow will bring. No, they sleep soundly. They play joyfully. They live freely because they are fully convinced that someone else has already planned for their needs. That's the level of trust your Heavenly Father is calling you to walk in. You are not called to carry the stress of tomorrow. You're not created to live in worry or fear. From now on, you are stepping into a life where every step you take is guided, guarded, and graced. Your needs are not just noticed, they're already met. That's not wishful thinking. That's the promise of a covenant God. This doesn't mean the road ahead will always be easy or smooth, but it does mean that the outcome is already secured. And that changes how you walk. It shifts how you talk. It transforms how you think. Because when you're no longer obsessed with trying to make everything work, you can finally focus on becoming who you were created to be. Confidence in divine provision is not passive. It doesn't sit back and do nothing. No, it's an active faith. It says, because I know God is providing, I can move boldly. It gives you the courage to take steps that don't make sense to others. It gives you the clarity to walk through doors that used to intimidate you. You're no longer begging God to show up. You're moving with the full expectation that He already has. This confidence doesn't come from motivational quotes or self-help books. It comes from the Word of God. It's grounded in His unchanging promises. Philippians 4:19 says, My God shall supply all your needs according to His riches in glory in Christ Jesus. That means it's not based on the economy, your resume, your network, or your bank account. It's based on the endless resources of heaven. That changes everything. You don't have to manipulate outcomes. You don't have to fear if the job will call back or if the investment will work out. You don't have to keep carrying the burden of being your own provider. God has taken that role. And He's not stepping in halfway. He's fully responsible for your overflow. There is a supernatural rhythm you begin to walk in when you truly believe this. Instead of forcing things, you flow in favor. Instead of stressing about timing, you trust His calendar. And instead of bracing for lack, you start preparing for abundance, because confidence in God's provision isn't just internal, it manifests externally. It affects how you carry yourself. It shows up in your decisions, your relationships, your conversations. It radiates from your presence. People may begin to wonder why you seem so calm, why you don't panic like before, why you're not desperate. But the truth is, once you know your source, you're not shaken by your situation. You've tapped into a kingdom reality that overrules natural limitations. You've aligned yourself with the one who can feed thousands with a few loaves, who can open doors no man can shut, who can bring water from a rock and provision from unexpected places. You don't need to know how it will happen. You just need to know who your God is. And when you focus on Him, everything else begins to align. This kind of confidence empowers you to take bold, faith-filled action. You're no longer moving in fear. You're moving in trust. You're no longer striving for control. You're leaning into surrender. And in that surrender, there's strength. In that letting go, there's acceleration. Don't confuse rest with passivity. Godly rest is powerful. It says, I'm doing my part, but I'm not carrying the weight of outcomes. That's God's job. You keep showing up, you keep being faithful. And as you do, God is orchestrating things behind the scenes in ways you couldn't even imagine. Doors are opening. Resources are aligning. Relationships are shifting. Favor is being released. And here's the truth. The more you align your actions with God's will, the more His provision will chase you down. It will show up in ways that defy logic. It will arrive through people you didn't expect, opportunities you didn't ask for, and breakthroughs that feel sudden but were always scheduled by God. This is the power of trusting in divine provision. It allows you to live in freedom, not fear, to move with clarity, not confusion, to stand in boldness, not doubt. God is not trying to tease you with hope. He's training you for harvest. So as you walk forward, remember, your steps are ordered. Your provision is guaranteed, and your future is secure, not because of your plans, but because of His promise. He's not just the God who can provide, He's the God who will. And as His chosen one, you can live every day fully convinced that He is taking care of you. When you finally let go of the need to control every detail of your life, a divine space is created, a space where miracles can begin to flow, a space where the supernatural takes over the natural. That's what happens when you truly surrender the burden of financial fear and stop trying to micromanage your breakthrough. You create room for God to do what only He can do. This is not about giving up. It's about giving in to His perfect will. It's about acknowledging that your striving has limitations, but His provision has none. And as long as you keep clenching your fists around the how, you block the flow of what God wants to release. But the moment you release that control and say, God, I trust your timing, I trust your way, I trust your heart, everything changes. No, this isn't passive living. This is powerful living. This is active, engaged faith. It's faith that says, I'll keep moving forward, but I won't carry what's not mine to carry. It's a lifestyle where obedience leads the way and trust fills the gaps. And in this space, this sacred space of faith and surrender, God begins to move mightily on your behalf. When you align with God's timing and stop racing to create your own plan, you start seeing the fingerprints of heaven everywhere. You stop seeing delays as denials and start seeing them as divine setups. You stop panicking about provision and start praising Him for promises already in motion. Because the truth is, God is never late. He's always working behind the scenes, strategizing, positioning, aligning the people, the opportunities, and the resources you didn't even know you needed. What happens next isn't coincidence, it's consequence. The consequence of trust, the reward of surrender. You begin to experience a kind of overflow that doesn't make sense in the natural realm. You walk into rooms you weren't invited into. You receive calls you didn't expect. Ideas flow. Peace reigns. And your life starts reflecting the supernatural rhythm of heaven. And no, this doesn't happen because you manipulated the outcome. It happens because you made space for God to show up. You stopped trying to play God in your own story. You stopped living with clenched teeth and anxious hands and instead opened your life with bold expectation that God would keep His word. Because here's the truth. When God takes on the responsibility for your wealth, He doesn't do it halfway. He doesn't just meet the need, He exceeds it. He multiplies. He adds favor on top of resources, strategy on top of supply, peace on top of provision. He moves in ways that make people say, that had to be God. And that's exactly the point. Your life becomes a living testimony of His ability to show up and show off. So what's your role in all of this? To align, to obey, to release the need to understand every detail and instead walk boldly with faith. To stop thinking small and start dreaming with God again. Because the more you let go, the more heaven begins to flow. And you'll notice something incredible. The moment you stop chasing wealth and start chasing God's will, wealth begins to chase you. It follows you. It overtakes you. Not just financially, but emotionally, relationally, spiritually. Every area of your life begins to reflect the reality that you are not walking alone. You're walking with heaven's full backing, and this kind of abundance, it's not a result of pressure. It's the product of peace. It's not the fruit of fear. It's the harvest of faith. You didn't manipulate your way into this. God moved you into it. Because you were ready. Because you chose to believe. Let go of the stress. Let go of the frantic prayers that beg and plead. Begin praying like someone who knows God is already at work. Begin declaring, I don't know how it's going to come, but I know who it's coming from. That is the language of faith. That is the heart posture that draws in miracles. This doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means the challenges won't shake you. It means when things look uncertain, you're not panicking, you're praising. Because even when you don't see the full picture, you know the painter. You know that your life is being brushed by the hands of a master who sees the end from the beginning and never misses a stroke. When you release control, you stop trying to open doors that were never yours to open. You stop chasing people who were never meant to walk with you. And you start trusting that if God has called you to it, He will make a way through it. You begin living like someone who knows heaven has a plan, and your only job is to walk in, step with it. And here's the secret. The miracles don't come when you have it all figured out. They come when you step out anyway. When you say, even if I don't see it yet, I'll keep moving like it's already done. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains. That's the kind of faith that attracts the impossible. So as you move forward, let this be your declaration. I refuse to live in fear. I refuse to carry what God has already claimed. I will walk in faith. I will create space for miracles. I will let go, and I will rise higher. Because when you release control, you release power, heaven's power, and that's when the impossible becomes your new normal.